Hello, it's the 1st of July and today I'm going to harvest these onions. Conventionally one might harvest onions when about half the leaves have drooped over. These are slightly earlier than that. They're in pretty good condition, they're in their prime, and I'll come to the reason why I'm doing it slightly early in a minute. In the notes below I've put links to videos I did last year and the year before in relation to onions, and one of the issues that I had to deal with was onion white rot. This year I've put together all the things that I did to try to avoid the problems with onion white rot, and this bed is representative of it. Now, this isn't a plant research station, so I recognise that doing multiple things to deal with a problem means that any one or all or none could have actually helped in avoiding onion white rot. But what I've done, and it's the details of these in a lot more detail are shown in the other videos, is that last year in the summer I treated this bed with bag of garlic, which I'd granulated garlic, which I got from Amazon. There is a research paper noted on one of the videos below which seems to indicate that putting garlic powder on the soil causes the fungus which causes onion white rot to think there are a lot of onions about, to begin its life cycle and then to die off when it discovers there aren't any onions to feed upon. So that was one technique I used. The other thing I did was cover the ground with weed suppressant fabric, so any spores, any of the fungus that was about might not settle on it. The third thing I did here was to do what I call a pot in the ground when I was planting. I've described that in relation to when I was planting these vegetables behind me. That's essentially coring out with a bulb corer a part of the soil and then backfilling that with new compost. So these onion sets were planted in brand new compost. And the other thing that I'm doing, as I explained at the beginning of the video, is to harvest them at their prime, because if there is any illness, infections, funguses that a plant can get, like human beings, they're better at fighting it off if they're in their prime and if they're well to start with. So I'm harvesting perhaps slightly early in order to hope that the onions, being at their best, will not have succumbed to any onion white rot which may have found its way into the ground.
There's two other things I could mention. One is that I've planted the onions in new ground this year that hasn't had onions planted in it for several years. Last year I actually replanted in the same bed as the year before, which was in part to try out the experiment with the garlic used in a bed which I knew had some problems with onion white rot, and that had some degree of success. But this year and from now on I'm going to be planting in a different bed every year. The other thing is that this year, generally speaking, I've gone over to using slow release fertiliser. I still condition the soil with blood and bone, but I'm hoping that by using slow release fertiliser the plants will be fed in a more regular and consistent way over the season.
On the surface the onions do seem to be particularly good this year. I don't know if using slow release fertiliser was a major factor in that, but I'll certainly do it next year. Of course, the proof of the pudding is going to be if there are any signs of onion white rot. So let's take out the first one. When you see it, as you can see on some of the other videos, there's a very distinctive kind of white fluffy mould, and that is a perfect onion, so I'm very pleased with that. Conventionally, it's said that onions ought to be harvested on a bright sunny day and that the roots should be left in the sunshine to dry, and today is rather overcast. Although it's quite a dry day, what I'm actually going to do is put them straight into a warm summer house where they can be on the floor. They won't be able to have their roots dried off in the sunshine. That's another one that's clear of onion white rot. They won't be able to have their roots dried off in the sunshine, but I found in the past that when they get to this stage, they can go to the stage of the leaves falling over and being ready to harvest fairly quickly, and I really don't want to leave it too late and risk any onion white rot getting a hold, and I'm away for a couple of days next week, so it might, certainly don't want to delay this another week. Well, that's the onions harvested. I got 48. You can see them here drying in the summer house. It'll be a bit of an interesting experiment this year, not having them drying out in sunlight, but just in a warm room. Sometimes conventional gardening advice, when you actually test it, proves to not be correct or all that useful, so I'll be interested to see if the fact these haven't been dried in the sunshine, they've just been dried in a warm room, makes any effect on them. As for the onions themselves, I'm very pleased. All of them had good white roots on. They were obviously in the prime of their lives. 2 did have the beginnings of onion white rot on, which actually wiped off and peeled away. You could peel the outer skin away and get rid of that, so hopefully that won't have any effect. And it makes me think that whatever it is that's working in my current technique is something to be repeated on future years. Okay, well, thank you very much for watching, and as ever I hope you found something useful or interesting in this video.